This is Goku Sunday BZ. I know it's not Sunday and all, so it's unusual for me to do a top 12 list since it's not top 12 Sunday, but I was in the mood to do a special top 12 today because I was coming up with some new ideas and stuff for some new lists in the future, and I thought I'd do one of them today, which of course earlier today I uploaded my second comic book review. So, of course, check that out if you get a chance. And this list is a list of the top 12 supernatural-themed TV shows. Now, in order to qualify for the list, one, of course, it cannot be animated or anything of that. It must be live action. And number two, it must be predominantly a supernatural theme to the show. Now, that means that, yes, some shows with certain side elements like drama or science fiction are okay, but the predominant theme has to be supernatural, not science fiction. Which means shows such as Doctor Who, shows like Eureka, Fringe, and shows of that nature do not qualify because they are still predominantly science fiction theme, not supernatural theme. So keep that in mind. And also this list is a compiled list based on my personal favorites. This isn't one of the neutral ones that I base on overall popular opinion from different websites and stuff. This is strictly my own personal favorites. So, and there may be some good supernatural themed shows out there that are on the list that could be either I didn't like it, of course, it may be predominantly another theme, or 3, I may not like it. So just keep these elements in mind. And, well, let's get started. Coming in at number 12 is more predominantly drama, but does have supernatural elements. It's about the main character of the show is a medium of sorts, which of course can communicate and see spirits and ghosts and help like resolve situations like with people may not realize they have died or something, or to send a message to their loved ones which are still alive. And that show is from CBS, Ghost Whisperers, which of course stars Jennifer Love Hewitt, I forget. It's been a few years since I've seen the show, but I very much enjoyed it, which is why it comes in at number 12. But still not as good as a lot of the other shows on this list. Coming in at number 11, and yeah, I'm not going to do the narrating voice for today. Number 11 is a show that was partially, of course, written and stuff by the God of the Nerds, Joss Whedon, and it's a side series that branched off of another series, which is higher up on the list, just so you know. And this show is about a vampire which has a soul, and of course his name is Angel, and that's the name of the show. And of course he tries to repent for things he did back when he didn't have a soul, and he wasn't called Angel, he was called Angelus. But overall, good show. Season 1 was okay. Season 2 was better. Season 3 and 4 were probably the best and the darkest period of time frame in the show. Now, Season 5, and I did like that they brought in Spike for some of the show. But overall, Season 5 was kind of a letdown to the rest, so it kind of ended on a weaker note, I guess you could say. It wasn't, though the last episode to the show was good, but it kind of seemed kind of anticlimactic, if you will. Now, coming in at number 10 is a show produced by AMC. American Movie Classics, obviously. But, yeah, it's produced by AMC, and it is, of course, about the zombie apocalypse. It is called The Walking Dead. I haven't seen any of Season 5, eventually, once it comes out on Netflix, I will probably watch it. But, I mean, the reason why it makes it to number 10, higher than some of the others, is because I really loved the first season. I really enjoyed the second season. The third season, I was kind of 50-50. And the fourth season was kind of a letdown for me. To me, the show is kind of getting weaker season by season. So, I'm not even sure how I'm going to feel about the fifth season when I end up watching it. It's hard to say. But it's looking like it's going to end up. If season 4 was like really bad, it may actually drop it in rank from 10th place right now. Now, if I base the show back on strictly watching after seasons 1 and 2, I probably would have in the top 5. But because of season 3 and especially season 4, is why it's in 10th place and no higher. Coming in at number 9 is a show I thought had a very strong first season, and I'll have to, I'm waiting right now for season 2 to come out on Netflix. It's a show produced by WGN. Very good overall production value and stuff. It takes place in the 1600s, 17th century in Salem, Massachusetts. And the name of the show is Salem. It takes place during the era of the Salem witch trials, but it's added a lot of heavy supernatural elements from other supernatural type shows, besides what really happened and stuff. And really, it's a really well overall show. I very much enjoyed the first season, and I really have pretty decently high expectations for season 2. We'll see how that ends, but just based on the first season, Salem is in 9th place, because I was very impressed with the first season. And very much surprised, and I'm glad I ended up checking the show out. I'm glad a couple of fellow YouTubers on YouTube recommended for me to actually check out the show, so thank you to them. Coming at number 8, I just recently got done watching season 2 of it. It's produced by Fox. It's called Sleepy Hollow. Of course, it's the main... Of course, you have the main character, which we know in the Sleepy Hollow Tales, Ichabod Crane, ends up getting cursed and is brought to present day, wakes up many hundreds of years later, and ends up joining forces with this young cop and stuff, which also has had supernatural experiences, as was Ichabod Crane. Has stuff, and of course he has to deal with the Headless Horseman, which is also supposedly one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Now, I'm not going to really mention too much as to, if you haven't seen, or you may have seen some of season 1, not all, or haven't seen season 2, I'm going to try my best not to mention, of course, any spoilers. But Sleepy Hollow is a very good show. I'm surprised it's been a while. Originally, they were going to try to cut the show off after just the first season. Luckily, fan support really became very vocal for the show, so they signed it on for a second, I believe also a third season. And season 2, to be fair, was pretty strong, which is why it remains at number 8 and made it so high up on the list. It was another surprise show, like Sleepy Hollow, Salem. I was not expecting to really get into, but surprisingly, it was a really good show, and I'm glad a coworker at work recommended Sleepy Hollow to me, and I recommend you check it out if you haven't seen it. Now, coming in at number 7 is a show that once upon a time on my supernatural theme list probably would have been like number 3 or number 4 on my list. But it's dropped to 7th place because I thought the 7th and final season to the show was kind of weak. Produced by HBO, of course, being about vampires, True Blood. Which, to be fair, for the most part, I still really love the show, which is why it's number 7. I very much enjoy it, and it's definitely, I would say one of my top 3 favorite shows produced by HBO, without a doubt. And I had high hopes for the final season. Sadly, I was kind of let down by the final season of True Blood, which is why it's not in my top 5, as it was for like 3 or 4 years in my top 5. Season 1 I really liked, Season 2 I really liked, and really got into Season 2. Season 3 I very much enjoyed. Season 4, I was kind of 50-50 about. Season 5 I pretty much enjoyed. So even Season 6 I was really enjoying. Season 7, though, kind of became a letdown. Though Season 6 wasn't as good as past seasons. I'd say really Season 2 to Season 5 was the best period in the show, without a doubt. But, of course, if you ask me my favorite character in True Blood, I'd have to go with Eric Norman, Sheriff, without a doubt. My favorite character, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that agree the same, that Eric is their favorite. Okay, coming at number 6 is a show I have not yet seen the 4th season of. Now, unlike a lot of TV shows where every season is just an extend on to the storyline, this particular show, every season is a different story. Season 1, we started out with a haunted house theme, which I still love. It's, of the 3 seasons I've seen, it's probably my favorite, tied for being my favorite with Season 3. Season 2 takes place in an insane asylum. And some interesting, but some weird elements as well in Season 3, which I very much as well really love, which takes place in Louisiana. It has to do with this group of witches, of course, known as a coven. And, of course, this show is called American Horror Story. And I very much love American Horror Story. It's a show I only started watching a little over a year ago, because some people at work recommended me to check it out, so I did, and now I love it. And obviously, give it its number 6 on the 12 list. Very high up. And I feel the show just seems to get better. Well, except for, I think Season 1 was stronger than Season 2, but I think Season 3 was very strong, just as strong as Season 1. And I'm waiting for Season 4 Freak Show to be released, of course. And to see that, I'm actually looking forward, because I've heard nothing but positive things about Season 4 Freak Show. And I'll also be curious about Season 5 Hotel. So, we shall see. And now coming in at number 5, Once Upon a Time of Supernatural theme shows was probably my number 2 favorite show, period. Then it kind of dropped, especially after the 8th and final season. The show was relatively weak, sadly. But for the most part, I still love the show to death. It's one of my top 10 personal, or top 12 personal favorite shows of all time. And that is by, of course, CW, formerly known as the WB, Charmed, which, of course, revolves around 3 sisters, the Charmed Ones, which have to fight many different creatures like wendigos, vampires, werewolves, and so on. Of course, some psycho white lighters, which are sort of like angels, I guess you could say, in a way. And then, of course, you have the enemies of witches and stuff like evil witches or warlocks, and, of course, the big baddies, demons, which has had many different kinds over the years, though my personal always favorite sort of bad guy will always be Balthazar, a.k.a. Cole, which, of course, played in the 2 Fantastic Four movies as Dr. Von Doom. Which is the only reason why I like those movies, because he was Dr. Doom. Anyways, I very much love Charmed. I always have had a soft spot for the show. It's just the 8th season kind of annoyed the crap out of me, because I did not like Billy and her sister. And of course, the girl who played Billy has become even more famous for a kind of, personally to me, stupid show called Big Bang Theory. I'm sorry, I'm just not a Big Bang Theory person. You'd think I would, given I'm a big nerd, but I just find it, the hipster, stereotypical type hipster nerds and stuff on it, it kind of, I feel, insulted a little bit by the show. But that's just my own personal preference and view. Coming in at number 4 is a show actually didn't used to be in my top favorites. Well, it was, but kind of dead bottom. But over the years, I feel that the show has actually aged a lot better than a lot of other supernatural themed shows. And of course, also written by Joss Whedon, which of course Angel branched off of. And of course, obviously, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was 7 seasons. And unlike a lot of other shows out there, Season 7, the final season of Buffy, surprisingly ended on a high note. A pretty strong last season. Not always do seasons end on the high notes. But just keep that in mind. It's not always all. And next is, of course, a show that was more predominantly supernatural themed the first 4 or 5 seasons, then kind of ended up a crossover supernatural theme with science fiction theme, then started leaning more towards sci-fi, but for the most part, overall show picture. I think supernatural actually played a bigger role in the show than sci-fi actually did. And this show is definitely, without a doubt, one of my, probably in my top 5 favorite shows, definitely, since the 2000 in the 21st century so far. One of my top 3 favorite shows, period. And that is produced by formerly CWWB. Stretched 10 seasons. And of course that is Smallville, which is the origin story for Clark Kent, aka Superman. Though he's not known as Superman, you don't really see the suit until the very end of the show. And the resurrection of Lex Luthor. And so on, and of course you have Darkseid and other elements in the last season. But yes, earlier on the show it was definitely predominantly a supernatural thing. Look at Season 4, my personal favorite season. When Lana Lang gets possessed by her evil ancestor, which is probably, I thought, the best season with Lana Lang, when she was possessed by her ancestor, Isabel Thoreau. And I love Jane Seymour as a villain, and very much a, excuse my language, but a very bitchy character in the show. But I loved her as a villain. Did not expect her to play a villain role or love her as it, but I very much got into her as a villain role. Surprise. Number 2 is probably my number 1 favorite show of the 2010s, and without a doubt, probably my number 1 favorite show since New Millennia. But if we're basing shows strictly on overall supernatural things, though it's very heavy in supernatural and also elements of fantasy, but fantasy and supernatural can go pretty much arm in arm, but it's still a strong supernatural theme to the show. When you have ice zombies called White Walkers, so obviously you now know the name of the show. And that is my favorite HBO series, coming in at number 2, Game of Thrones. Which I very much, I found the first half of Season 5 to be kind of dull. Season 5 ended on a pretty high note for the most part. Season 4, I really enjoyed, especially the Battle of the Wall and stuff. But I thought in some ways Season 5 was superior to Season 4. Now, a lot of the book fans didn't think so, but I haven't read the books. So, you can't really, I can't base it on that, but supernatural theme-wise overall, it's number 2, even though it's my number 1 overall favorite show. But coming in at number 1, back about 5 or 6 years ago, would have been if I did on top 12 at that time, it'd probably been ranked number 10 or 9 or something. But now it's number 1 because even though it got kind of dull in seasons 7 and 8, season 9 and 10 got a lot better. I thought it was the strongest of the show. I thought was season really season 4 and 5 is when I really got sucked into the overall premise of the show, though I thought seasons 1 and 2 were interesting with the Winchester boys, Sam and Dean Winchester, and of course, obviously, number 1 being Supernatural, for Supernatural themed shows. There you go. But I love the story of the Winchesters, and I loved what they added in season 9 to season 10 with the, of course, the Mark of Cain, and of course the special dagger. And of course at the end of season 10, spoiler alert ahead, of course they end up releasing a creature known as the Darkness. And somehow the Angel of Death ends up killed. So, we'll see in season 11, which makes it now CW, formerly known as WB, tied for being now the second longest running show in network history at 11 seasons. And it's awesome, because they've always been awesome, like their appearances at Comic-Con, but my favorite character in the show, for the most part, at least up until season 4, was Dean Winchester. Nowadays, my favorite character, I still love Dean. He's pretty much tied for being my second favorite character. My favorite character, though, is probably a lot of people's. In seasons like 4, 5, and stuff, my favorite was Castiel the Angel, though pretty much it's a tie between him and Dean being my second favorite character in the show. My number 1 favorite character in the show is Crowley, which became the King of Hell. I just really much love the Crowley character, and I love how his character has evolved over time, and you get to know more about his backstory and stuff, and about how evil his mother is in season 10. But Crowley's a very interesting individual. Now, for the show, I loved season 5, of course, when you had the release of Lucifer. And I loved who they casted as Lucifer, the Archangel, in season 5. I thought he did an incredible job, bringing a great element, acting, drama-wise, and trying to act like a character trying to be relatable and stuff, trying to make people feel sorry for him and stuff, which I thought was kind of interesting, for the most part. It was an interesting angle. Now, we'll see in season 11, I guess, how they're going to get out of trying to defeat this pure darkness, because even apparently God could not kill it. So we shall see if God will return and defeat it in season 11, or will Sam and Dean possibly have to free Michael and Lucifer from the supernatural cage they're stuck in, down below ground, in order to stop the darkness? We shall see. Will the Winchesters be able to stop it with the help of Crowley and Castiel, or will they have to free Michael and Lucifer? Find out this fall on the CW on season 11 of Supernatural. Just couldn't resist doing it, but as always, this is Goku-san DBZ. Please leave a comment, subscribe, give me an idea for a future top 12 list, comic book review, video game review, movie review possibly in the future. Follow me on Twitter. Please subscribe, and please just leave a comment. Tell me what some of your favorite supernatural themed shows are. And as always, I'll see you next time here in YouTube land. And here's a piece of music. Since I am Goku-san DBZ, I thought it was only proper I end on this musical note. To any old school DBZ fans or anime fans from early morning, you'll know this. Oh yeah, and love this band, Amon Amarth. Awesome Viking / death metal band.